Have you ever quietly wondered, am I enough? Enough to please her, enough to feel confident, enough to stop worrying about size altogether? If that thought has crossed your mind even once, you're not alone. I am a sexual health specialist, and I've worked with thousands of men. Today, we're going to have a respectful, honest conversation about one of the most misunderstood topics in men's health: penis size and what women actually need. By the end of this talk, you'll leave with 3 powerful truths: how size truly factors into satisfaction, what most women care about far more than length or width, and what to focus on instead so you can feel confident in your own skin at any age. Let me begin with a story that might sound familiar. A few months ago, a patient named Darren came to see me. He'd been married for 35 years, deeply connected to his wife, and successful by every measure. But he'd stumbled across information online suggesting the average size was over 6 inches. "I've never measured that much," he said. "I'm worried I've been disappointing my wife all these years, and she's just too kind to tell me." Darren's experience illustrates a problem I see all the time: the gap between what men believe is normal and what's actually normal. The medical reality, based on careful measurements of thousands of men, is that average erect length is just over 5 inches. Not 6, not 7, not 8. About 5. When I shared that with Darren, I watched his shoulders drop and his breathing ease. Then he asked the question at the heart of today's conversation. But what do women actually want? What do they need to be satisfied? Digging into the research reveals something both surprising and reassuring. The gap between what men think women want and what women actually report wanting is enormous. Many men assume women prefer much larger sizes than they do, and many underestimate how satisfied women already are. One of the most informative studies used a unique approach. Instead of asking women to imagine sizes, researchers provided life-sized 3D models they could hold and examine. When asked to choose an ideal size for a long-term partner, the average choice was about 6.3 inches in length. You might think, that's still bigger than average. And technically you'd be right. But here's the crucial detail. 20% of women in that study chose not to name any size preference at all, essentially saying, "This isn't important enough to me to have a number." Even more revealing, when women were asked about their actual relationships, 85% reported being satisfied with their partner's size. Meanwhile, only 55% of men said they were satisfied with their own bodies. That's a 30-point gap, proof that millions of men worry unnecessarily about something that isn't a problem for their partners. I see the fallout from this disconnect every day. Men come in convinced they need to change their bodies, while their partners are at home wondering why intimacy suddenly feels tense or distant. From a medical standpoint, here's perspective on what's concerning versus what's normal. The range of normal is much wider than people realize. The only size-related clinical condition that actually requires treatment is micropenis, which applies to less than 1% of men and is defined as under about 3 inches when fully erect. Everything above that falls within the normal range, even the small side of normal. What's more, I've spoken with many couples, and I have never had a woman complain that a partner within the normal range was too small. I have heard women express concern about partners who were significantly larger than average because of discomfort. Human anatomy is designed for compatibility, but there are limits in both directions. So if size isn't the decisive factor many imagine, what does create satisfaction? After years of talking with couples, communication consistently comes out on top. The most satisfied couples are those who can talk openly about desires, concerns, and needs. Intimacy isn't a performance one person delivers to another. It's a collaboration that requires presence, patience, curiosity, and mutual attention. I recall one couple who came in together rare, but always revealing. The husband was sure he wasn't satisfying his wife and grew so anxious that their intimate life nearly stopped. When I asked his wife directly, she looked genuinely puzzled. I don't understand why he thinks there's a problem. Everything was wonderful until he started worrying. Now he's so stressed and distant that we barely connect. This is a common pattern. When men fixate on measurements or performance, they stop being present with the person they love. Now, to those of you in your 52nd and beyond, let's talk about how satisfaction naturally evolves with time. I've noticed something wonderful in my practice. Couples who've been together for decades often have the most satisfying, intimate lives not despite age, but because of the wisdom they've built. Bodies change, hormones shift, response times may slow, and what felt effortless in your 22nd might require more patience and creativity now. But these changes do not mean less satisfaction. Many patients in their 52nd and later tell me their intimate lives became richer when they focused on quality over quantity, connection over performance. There's a freedom that comes with recognizing that movies, magazines, and online content sold a fantasy, not reality. Real intimacy, the kind that sustains happy marriages for 30, 40, even 50 years, looks nothing like pop culture. The men who adapt best understand something fundamental. Being a great partner has always been more about attention, affection, and emotional availability than about physical traits you can't control. Many tell me their most meaningful moments arrived when they stopped trying to measure up to an imaginary standard and started showing up fully for the person they love. So, practically speaking, what should you do with this information? Lead with confidence. Confidence is more attractive and more satisfying for your partner than any measurement. When you approach intimacy with warmth rather than worry, that energy is contagious. Stop withdrawing. If insecurity has made you avoid closeness, consider that distance may be causing more harm than the thing you're worried about ever could. Most partners would choose an enthusiastic, attentive lover who feels average about his body over an anxious, distant one with perfect numbers. Make communication a habit. Don't guess, ask. Questions like, what feels good? What would you like more of? And, how can I help you feel closer to me? Are not awkward. They're the bedrock of a great intimate life. Invest in overall health. Exercise, eat well, manage stress, prioritize sleep, and address medical conditions that sap energy or confidence. Your general health influences every aspect of your intimate life more than size ever will. Focus on giving pleasure. When you center your partner's experience, you become less self-conscious and more skillful, and your own satisfaction usually rises too. When should you seek professional help? If you're experiencing changes in function, difficulty achieving or maintaining erections, decreased sensation, pain, or any other physical symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Many issues have straightforward treatments that can restore confidence and connection. If anxiety about your body or performance is affecting your life or relationship, consider seeing a counselor who specializes in intimacy. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. Couples counseling can be especially helpful when communication feels stuck. A skilled therapist can help you both express needs safely and rebuild connection. The happiest couples address concerns early and directly, rather than hoping they'll disappear. As we wrap up, here's the most important message. You are enough exactly as you are. The anxiety so many men carry about their bodies rests on myths, not medical reality. The research is clear, clinical experience backs it up, and the takeaway is simple. Lasting satisfaction depends far more on emotional connection, communication, and mutual care than on any number on a measuring tape. Your partner chose you and continues to choose you for reasons that have nothing to do with inches. Be present, be attentive, be kind. Invest in your health, your communication, and your emotional availability. And if this conversation helped you, consider sharing it with other men who might be struggling in silence. The goal isn't perfection, it's connection. It's not about measuring up. It's about showing up for the person you love. And you already have everything you need to do that. Take care of yourself and remember,